What's going on, everybody? The National is finally here. Today is the day that it opens to the public, and the excitement, I have no doubt, will be tremendous. Now, I'm recording this in advance, and the reason I'm recording this in advance is, even though I'll be at the National, a lot of people will be at the National, there's a lot of people that won't be. And something that is important to me, it has become an important thing to me, the priority, is that my Monday and Wednesday videos. I don't want to miss my Monday and Wednesday videos because it's sort of just like a thing that I like to do to connect with everyone. And to just go, I'll skip a week here, I'll skip a week there, that loses that connection. So even though, when this is posted, I will have recorded this a few days ahead. That does not mean that the thoughts aren't still current and still there. But I just want everyone to know that, this is something that matters to me, and I will do everything I can to not miss. And if it means recording ahead of time, I will do that. Now, first, I want to go ahead and share a few really awesome gifts that were sent to me. The first thing I've got is Andrew sent me, look at that Garbage Pail Kid. I've talked before about how I love Garbage Pail Kids, and you got a cracked Craig. Can't go wrong with that one. So thank you for that, Andrew. And then my buddy Shane at Shoebox Legends, I had him on not that long ago for one of my short-winded episodes. He's a great guy, a great channel. Become friends with him. I didn't know him at all before I had him on. And now we communicate fairly regularly, and I'm happy for that. And when I had him on, one of his questions was about the best or my favorite music album of all time. And I said that it was a Pearl Jam album. The album is No Code. I've listened to that album thousands of times in my pickup truck driving around growing up. And he was like, I'm a huge Pearl Jam fan. Well, he sent me a couple of very cool gifts. A couple of packs of Pearl Jam cards. Got that one there. And this one here. And so I reached out to him. I said, are these things that I should open? And he's like, I mean, you can do whatever you want, man. So this one's from Chicago 2016. And then Boston 2018. And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to not open them right now. But I might someday. You never know. There are a handful of music groups that I am quite a fan of, and Pearl Jam is one of them. I've never really been a concert person. I've been to a fair amount of concerts, but they've gotten so expensive, and it's gotten so kind of wild at times. But one of the groups that I think that I would do a concert for would be Pearl Jam. I don't know. If you look at Coldplay, their concerts look incredible. That's one I would be high on as well. Anyway, enough about that. The third gift I wanted to show you showed up, and this guy, my buddy Lou, he sent me a message. He sent me a text, and he said, hey, I sent you something. Just be on the lookout for it. I'm like, okay. Well, I was out and about that day, and it arrived, and my wife called me and goes, what did you buy? And I go, what are you talking about? She goes, this massive package just showed up. What did you buy? And I'm like, I didn't buy anything, I don't think. Needless to say, it was an incredible gift from my buddy Lou. Now, I'll go ahead and put a picture of it on the screen. This is a signed cleat, signed by Roger Clemens and framed up. What a beautiful piece. This will be absolutely treasured and displayed prominently in my card room. You can see a closer picture here as well. What an amazing gift. It's certified by Steiner, which anyone who's in the New York area or a Yankee collector knows all about Steiner. They are like the Yankee partner for all things autographs and memorabilia. A really, really awesome gift. My friend Lou, thank you so much. I'm planning on meeting up with Lou at the National this week. So if I haven't, well, I probably haven't run into you yet, because when this posts, I will just be getting into town in Cleveland. But I do know that we have an event on Friday, where we'll see each other, and then likely on Thursday as well, if I don't see you at the show today. So thank you for all those gifts. Now, questions for this week. Another fantastic crop of questions. So let's go ahead and get right into those here. Question: Greg, what are your thoughts and feelings regarding the recent Dallas card show theft from your dealer associate, Ash? Oh, man. I mean, I'm sure most of us, if not all of us, have heard the news by now. But a few weeks ago, a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, something like that, at the Dallas card show, there was definitely a setup theft where some guys got away with a case, and that case was full of high-end slabs from my buddy Ash Jai. Now, Ash is a big-time dealer nationally. He's at all the big shows nationally. And, you know, his company, his business is called Legacy Cards. I've had him on the channel. We had an interview with him a while back. Spent some time with him in Strongsville. I text with him all the time. If you've met Ash, you've spent time talking with him, I have no doubt that you think that he's a really good guy. If you have sold cards to Ash, I'm very confident that you are very happy with how it went, because he pays pretty darn well for a dealer for high-end stuff. Ash is a great guy. He is a great guy. Whenever I reach out to him, whenever I text him, whenever I call him, he could not be kinder. And I am truly blessed to consider him a friend. And I am looking forward to spending some time with him this week here in Cleveland. Now, how do I feel about it? I have a lot of feelings. I'm pretty upset about it. I'm pretty upset that we live in a world where people are stealing literally a couple $1 million worth of items from somebody else. It sickens me that we live in a world where people can't turn their back for 10 seconds without somebody potentially taking your livelihood, what puts food on your table, what helps pay for shelter over you. Like, it sickens me. It angers me. It sickens me. You know, I've seen a lot of people with a lot of opinions and a lot of comments. And, you know, there have been some outliers of people who have, you know, said some not cool things about it. But the overwhelming majority of the card community is 100% behind Ash, and 100% doing anything that we can to help make sure that this doesn't happen again, but also that these guys get caught and his items get returned. Now, in my brief interactions with him after the fact, we didn't get too much into details, but he's obviously, you know, upset, and he's obviously trying to stay positive. And more than anything, what I've seen from him is just a ton of appreciation of everybody in the community who's been trying to help him. And And we all want people like this caught, not just because it's justice, but because if people like this are caught, then it hopefully prevents future people from doing it. You know, another piece of this is, to me, I feel like this is, it's a wake-up call for all of us, but it's also, I feel like promoters need to start making sure that they're doing more. Promoters of these big card shows, I'm telling you, if they don't start making changes, if they don't have added security, if they don't have better, like literally better security cameras, if they don't have more ways of checking things and having undercover security, having, armed security, if they don't start doing stuff like that, then if I were some of these big dealers, I'd go, why am I going to spend all this time and energy? Because you have to remember, a lot of these dealers are packing up a ton of stuff, worth a ton of stuff, traveling long distances, staying in hotels, setting up, paying fees, paying hotels, paying employees to set up at their shows. So if they also have to be thinking about, well, my stuff's going to get ripped off, which apparently is happening. We had an issue in Strongsville. We had an issue here in Dallas. If that's now a thing, then if I were some of these big time dealers, I would just say, fine, screw it. I won't go to the shows. I'll just sell online. Ash does real well through his website and through Facebook. So why drag yourself all the way over the country and risk having your stuff walk away? Now, I don't want to play a blame game, and Ash certainly hasn't done that. And I think there are a lot of different people here who have at least some amount of responsibility for what has happened. But I think that there needs to start being things that are put into place at some of these big shows from the promoters if they want the big dealers to continue to show up. Now, another piece of this is I've talked to a lot of friends going to the National, and they said, I'm not bringing cash. If stuff like this is going to be happening, I mean, if we're flying across the country to Cleveland and I'm walking around with cash in a town I don't know, in a hotel, potentially taking Ubers and things, why would I do that? So another fallout from this could be, is PayPal and Venmo and Zelle going to be the thing? Because then there's issues with that. There's tax ramifications. There's all sorts of issues with that. But I've talked to a lot of people, like, I'm not showing up with nearly as much cash as I was planning. If people don't take PayPal, then I'll just go to the next table. That's another issue that we have as a result. So I'm really upset for my friend, and I'm really disappointed for the industry. And I think that this is a wake-up call that security measures need to be ramped up a lot. That's my biggest takeaway. Future question. You go to an estate sale of an elderly family friend that is selling off all of her late husband's items. You come across a banker's box full of nothing but hundreds and hundreds of pre-war baseball cards worth thousands and maybe more. After getting over the excitement of finding this once-in-a-lifetime treasure, you calmly ask her how much for the box, and she says she knows absolutely nothing about cards or their values and asks you if $20 is fair. Because she is a family friend and needs the money, are you in your conscience honest with her and tell her what a gold mine she has? Or do you keep quiet and just take the box for $20 and run? Okay, there was a similar question that was asked maybe a month and a half ago about going to a garage sale and finding just like, I think at that time it was a few $1,000s worth of cards. And it wasn't even a few, I think it was several $1,000s worth of cards. What would I do? Blah, blah, blah. Now, this is a similar question, but to me, it's also significantly different. There's a few things going on here. First, you mentioned that the person for sure needs this money, okay? Number two, it's a family friend, okay? Number three, it's probably somebody that lives in my immediate community, it sounds like, because I'm familiar with them and they're a family friend. Those are some big differences. When at the end of the day, I think when you take a step back, the way I try to live my life, the way I try to be as an employee, as a teacher, as a friend, as a citizen, as just a member of society, is truly, literally, it's just live by the golden rule. Treat others the way you want to be treated. So if I were to reverse the roles, if I were the person who just passed away and my wife were at an estate sale and my wife said, hey, I don't know, $20, is that what they're worth? And the person who she said that to was a family friend, and they just said, sure, here's $20, and they leave, that would be disappointing. So I can tell you for sure that's not what I would do. I have had similar things happen. I had recently, I had a friend from high school. She inherited her dad's collection. She asked me, knowing I was into cards, what they were worth. I spent a couple hours going through them with her, giving her some options about, well, you could do this, you could grade them, you could sell them, you could, do them on eBay, but this is approximate values, kind of giving her a menu of options. And I said, if there's anything I can do to help you with this, I would be happy to help you with this. My dad, right? My dad had a similar situation happen where a family friend inherited some cards, said, I don't know anything about these, but Mike, I know that you know about cards. Well, there were a bunch of T206s in there, including 2 Cobbs. There was also a Babe Ruth card in there. And my dad, in that situation, literally, he said to me many times since, I wish I could have bought some of them because I would have liked to have had them. But because it was a family friend, I don't feel good about buying them from them, because then if they go up in value, then I got them from her. If I get a good deal, then I don't want to be taking advantage of her. What's the line in the sand between taking advantage of somebody and taking advantage of myself and not getting a fair deal? So what he ended up doing is basically sending a bunch of the cards in, getting them graded, and then selling them on eBay for her so that she could get the money, and he didn't make an offer because he was afraid that he wouldn't have treated her as well and given her what they would have been worth. It's tough when it's someone you know. So because it's someone I know, like with my friend, I didn't offer to buy the cards because I would have felt weird, because if I pay too much to take care of her, then there's no point in me buying them. But if I pay too little, then I'm not getting a good deal. So instead, it's sort of like, as a result, I have just kind of stayed out of it, just said I can help. I still haven't answered the question, have I? I would go to the lady and I would say, hey, let's take these. These are not going to be for sale at the estate sale. These are worth a lot of money. Let me help you. After the estate sale, sometime next week, let's get together. I'll sit down with you and I'll go through some of these cards and I'll give you some approximate values. We could talk about some options on who you could get some graded with. I could help you with that. Who you could sell them with, somebody that I trust, I could help you with that. And because I have a network of dealers that I'm friends with, I've helped broker deals for dealer friends where I've said, hey, I've got a person who has this for sale. Hey, I got a dealer who deals in this kind of thing. Hey, dealer friend, this is a friend of mine. Make sure you treat them right. Hey, friend over here, he's going to treat you right. They kind of both, I'm going to offer them this. Do you think that's fair, Greg? And I help kind of broker the deal. I have done that a few times. And that's probably what I would do, is I would probably help her grade the cards worth grading. And then I would reach out to one of my dealer friends that I trust and said, do me a favor. She really needs the money. Treat her right, and kind of be there as a security blanket for her through the process. That's what I think I would probably do. Another great Q&A. My question is, what is your preference for storing your graded cards? I know raw cards and top loaders and cardboard boxes are a go-to for most. But what do you use for storing your graded cards? I am now about to reach 500 slabs and I'm starting to get concerned about storing them. I have multiple cases, but they are beginning to take up a lot of room. Wondering what you do, and look forward to what others may comment also. Now, this is going to be a question I probably don't have a very terrific answer for. I am more than happy to share what I do. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put on the screen just kind of some pictures, videos of where my slabs are stored. My high-end stuff, my most expensive stuff, is in a safe. But everything that's, under, I don't know, $300 or so, $400, will go in these cases. I have been a person who said a few times that I tend to want to have fewer cards. Each of the cards have a higher price point. So what I've been doing is I've actually, my collection has been getting consolidated. And so because I've been consolidating it, a couple of these cases that hold about 100 cards each, 200 slabs, that's plenty. I've got 2 of those cases that I showed there. I'm probably not the right person to ask. Now, I can tell you what some other people do. I mean, I know most people watch Mike Moynihan's channel, right? Baseball Collector. And Mike, literally with his dad, custom built some basically filing cabinet drawer things specifically designed to hold his comic books and PSA slabs, because he's a PSA guy. And so he made custom drawers. That's an option. It kind of just depends on how much you've got. Now, another option is PSA, at least for a long time, and I think they still do, sells custom storage containers for PSA slabs. And because they're designed specifically for PSA slabs, they can kind of condense into a pretty tight little area. So that would be an option. But to be totally honest with you, I don't think I'm the best person to ask this, but I do want to address it so I could share what I'm doing and talk a little bit about some of those options, but then also put it out there to everyone else. So if you are listening or watching to this and you have some thoughts on a good way to do it, let us know. My daughters were into Funko Pops for a couple of years. And what my daughters found is that through social media, there were some little shelves that IKEA sold that fit Funko Pops perfectly. And so they bought some of those shelves and they had their Funko Pops up. So I'm sure that there's something out there that is sold at a Michael's or a IKEA or something that might fit it well, or something online or some brand. But that's what I do, but it's certainly not the best option. So I look forward to hearing what others think. Greg, I loved seeing some of your glorious vintage basketball cards. And the question from my friend Adam at a vintage sanctuary is, how often do you find yourself adding a new collecting focus? Start collecting a new player, set, etc. Squirrel. When you do add a new collecting focus, do you try to let go of a current focus to compensate? Do you try to resist adding new focuses so as to not dilute your current collecting pursuits, or do you wholeheartedly embrace new collecting focuses? Oh, Adam, my friend Adam, I have very little self-control with staying focused. Very, very little. I do not do well with this, and this is something that I struggle with. It's something that I've talked about a little bit. It's something that I try really, really, really hard to stay focused. And I then find squirrels all over the place. I'll go to a card show. I'll see something that's kind of cool. I'll see myself start to think to buy it. And then I stop and I go, what am I doing? This is not in line with what I'm planning on. Now, it can be a pro and it can be a con to be focused. You can be too focused. There can be times where opportunities present themselves and you go, nah, that's not what I do. That's not what I collect, so I'm not going to do it. That's not necessarily the way to be. But then there's the opposite, which is you're so scatterbrained, you never make any progress with what it is that you like most. My dad tells the story, and I should just have my dad tell the story, but he was at a card show years and years and years ago. This would have been probably about 1990. And there was a dealer who was selling a bat, and the bat was signed by like every living 500 home run club member. So, it had Mantle and Mays and Aaron and, Frank Robinson and Harmon Killebrew. And I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on and on. And it had like 20 signatures on it. And this is at a time in 1990 when at a card show, I know this is going to sound crazy, but an autograph for like a Hank Aaron was like, $10, $20. And so the bat was even cheap for that time. And this is also when bats started to be a premium for signatures. Like, for a while it was just, you could have anything signed for whatever the price was. And then they started going to like, well, flat items are this price, and then bats are maybe a slightly different price. And so a signed bat was more of a premium. And it had, let's just call it 20 signatures. And he was like, oh, that's really cool. And that's a really good deal. Now, what was the price? I think the price was like $200. I know. Crazy. And he's just like, I don't really collect autographs. So he didn't buy it. But it was a crazy deal. And he still talks about that deal. And I get it. I think sometimes if we're too focused, that's a problem. If we have no focus, that's a problem. So what do I do? Is the again, I know I get on tangents. What do I do? I try really hard to stay focused. I have 3 or 4 different things that I try to stay the most focused on. At the moment, those things are a lot of pre-war stuff. I like the T205s, but I like the T206s better. And some people go, you're crazy, the T205s are better looking. They're both beautiful to me, but I like the T206s better. T207s also have some benefits. I love the Goodwin Champion cards that Orlando has an amazing, incredible set on. And I have very much resisted going down that rabbit hole too, but I absolutely love them. I absolutely love the N28s. I've resisted going down that because as much as I love them, it's just going to take more of my time, my money, my energy away from some of the other projects. So some of the projects that are big for me right now are I'm trying to get at least one Hall of Fame card from every T206 Hall of Famer. You know, there's 4 Cobbs. I'd like to get one of them. There are 3 Cy Youngs. I'd like to get one of them. I don't need every card of every Hall of Famer. I'd like one card from each Hall of Famer, plus a smattering of other players with interesting stories or significant, things they were involved with, stuff like that. That's one of my things. I love my N19 Pirates of the Spanish Main set. Love them. I'd like to complete that whole set. I'd like to have a few more cards from the 33 Gaudy set. I've got a couple. I've got a Rogers Hornsby. I've got a Carl Hubble. There's a few more I'd like. I'd like a Jimmy Fox. I'd like a Mel Ott. I'd like to get a couple more early Ted Williams cards. I love Ted Williams. I'd like to get a couple Joe DiMaggio cards. I love his 39 and 41 play ball. I love his Leaf. There are a few important players. I'd love to get a rookie Larry Doby. I mean, I have a few rookie Hall of Famers of guys that I like. I have the Bowman Minnie Minoso rookie. I have the Monty Irvin Bowman rookie. I'd love to get a Stan Musial rookie. Obviously, I want the Yogi Berra. So I want some of my favorite cards of some of my favorite players from the 30s, 40s, and 50s as well. When I get a new project, like I started my Pirates of the Spanish Main project about a year ago. Did I take something else off the table? Not really. Not really. I still want a Sandy Koufax rookie card. I don't have one, I still want an Al Kaline rookie card. I don't have one. It adds to the list, but the priority of the list might change up and down a little bit. So no, I don't really take things out when I put new things on. I'm a complete degenerate collector, and I know it, and I love it. New question for next week. Card prices shot up during the COVID era for a few years and then came back down to normal prices, but seem to still be slowly declining. Do you see values continuing to slowly decline before hitting rock bottom? Or do you see right now as a great opportunity for buying as the values will go back up in the near future? The reason I ask is I have kept track of every card I have purchased on eBay over the past 5+ years, and I compare to today's prices, and I think I could get better deals today on many of those cards. I collect mostly vintage in baseball, basketball, and football, and with some modern mixed in. This is an absolutely fantastic question. I could absolutely speak on an hour just on this topic. What we're basically talking about is the economics of vintage cards, which is like one of my favorite things to talk about. And I would love to just do like a live stream with 4 or 5 other guys and just talk about this. What do we think is going on? What do we think is gonna happen? Some of us like to think about the current and future situation of our sports team. Some of us like to talk about or think about the current and future situation of the stock market, or the current and future situation of politics or sports cards or whatever it is. It's fun to talk about. It's interesting to speculate. Now, there's no doubt that a lot of cards went way up and peaked, and a lot of cards came way down, and then a lot of cards have leveled out, and a lot of cards have slowly continued to go down a little bit. When you look at a lot of the charts, though, not everything has been going down. Some stuff has been going down. The common stuff has been, not commons, but the higher population things have been continuing a little bit of a downward trend. When I do my videos for cards under $50 each month, you're starting to see 3s and 4s of Willie Mays from the 1960s, when before you would never see a Willie Mays at all. And then for a while you'd see a 1 or a 2, and now you're seeing a 3 or a 4. That's because the prices of those have slowly come down a little bit. Of Willie Mays cards from the 1960s, which are not super rare. But what hasn't plummeted are, Ty Cobb T206s and T205s and caramel cards. Those haven't plummeted at all. Babe Ruth cards, Gowdies, those haven't plummeted. Those have strong demand still. PSA 952 mantles, those aren't plummeting. Some things go down, other things don't. So again, I could go for an hour about this. I'm not going to. I'm going to give a brief kind of my thoughts on this. What do I think is going to happen? Well, cards have always kind of followed the stock market. Things ran up when the stock market ran up in the early 2000s. Cards went way up. And then the stock market crashed. Housing bubble burst, stock market burst, card market burst. That's not a coincidence. See, cards are in one of those categories of non-required items. We need electricity, we need water, we need housing, we need milk, we need bread, but we don't need to go on a vacation to Tahiti. I don't even know where Tahiti is. We don't need to go to Disneyland. We don't need a 66 Mickey Mantle. So those things are kind of expendable items. So when the economy starts to struggle, one of the first places that you see it are on those different things that aren't required items to live. And so I think that when we see that the market is kind of in a little bit of a downward trend, what I think that more tells us is some of what's actually happening with the overall economy. I think that inflation has been greater in some of the areas that we need. Energy has gone way up. Housing costs have gone way up. And as those things, because we're not going to buy baseball, well, we shouldn't be buying baseball cards instead of buying energy or housing. So as housing gets more expensive and energy gets more expensive, right? Your gasoline bill is up. That means you have less disposable income to spend on things like cards. And the types of cards, and this is the important part, because I know I'm rambling, but the important part is the types of cards that are most affected when things get tight in the economy for the middle class. The cards that are most affected are the cards that people from the middle class collect, like a 68 Mantle. right? Like a 58 Frank Robinson. The cards that are least affected are the cards that people collect that are not in the middle class. The upper class, and I'm making broad generalizations, I know that, but you guys know what I'm saying. The upper class are collecting, PSA 8 cards from the 1952 top set. They're collecting Ty Cobb cards in SGC 5s. They're collecting 33 Gowdy Ruths in PSA 6s. Those people are not as affected by small drops in the economy or tightening of budgets because of inflation on required items in our monthly budget. So, Marshall Fogel, right? This guy is a high-powered attorney who has a very, very high net worth. He doesn't start going, I'm not going to buy that Jackie Robinson game-used bat because times are tough right now. Like, it doesn't affect him that much. So the price of the Jackie Robinson game-used bat is not going to be as affected as the 1961 Juan Marichal rookie card. Because if Marshall Fogel wanted a Juan Marichal rookie card, he's already got it, and it's probably in a 9. But the PSA 4 Juan Marichal, that's the card that the middle-class guy who is being tightened from the economy is not going to buy, that he maybe would have bought otherwise, which drives the price down a little bit. So what I think that the indicator is what is the monthly budget really look like for the middle class card collector? And what are the cards that the middle class card collector are buying? Those are the types of cards that are dropping. The ones that are more immune are the high-end cards and the high-end grades that the people who collect them aren't that worried about gas going from $3 a gallon to $4 a gallon, because they don't really notice that much. I know that's some broad generalizations, but that's my take. What do I think is going to happen? I mean, with the economy, I think overall, if you're looking in the short term versus looking in the long term, I think the U.S. economy is going to be fine. In the short term, the election could have some impact on it. Some of the, instability in different regions of the world could have some impact on it. Some of the tax policies that may or may not happen based on the election could have something to do with it. So again, I always look at it's like I tell my students, if you're looking to do a quick flip in the stock market, if you're looking to buy Apple now and sell it in 2 months for a profit, that is like playing, the roulette wheel in Vegas. But buying Apple now and selling it in 10 years, or buying a mutual fund now, putting $10,000 in the S&P 500 now, I'm pretty darn confident that in 10 years, the S&P 500 will be worth a fair amount more than it is right now. I am not confident at all that the S&P 500 will be higher in 3 months than it is right now. Again, if you ever want to see something interesting, look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Look at the stock market index. And look at it from the very, very beginning to now. And then zoom way in the late 1920s and to middle 1930s during the Depression. Okay? And you'd go, oh my gosh, everything fell off a cliff. But now if you zoom out and you look at it over the last 120 years or something, you'll just see a little drop that quickly got recovered. Long-term investing versus short-term investing are two completely different things. So if the question is about short-term cards, the answer is no idea. No idea. If we're talking about 10 years from now, I believe that most vintage cards of notable players in mid to high grades, I think will be fine over the long haul. I don't have any idea over the short term. Now, again, remember, this is not investment advice. This is not investment advice. Because the other piece of it is the value of the dollar, inflation. You know, you have a commodity like a 1960 Topps Mickey Mantle card. That's an item. And if inflation heats up, it takes more dollars to buy the same card because the dollar is worth less, right? So if the dollar is worth less and it takes more of them to buy the mantle, then the cost to buy the mantle will be more because it takes more dollars to buy the same item. I hope that makes sense. I would see, if I was at school, I'd be on the board and I would be drawing things and I'd be explaining it, and it would be at the visual. I really struggle because the only visual you have right now is looking at this. But I hope that makes sense. So that's my take, not investment advice. Okay? Don't try to sue me in 5 years when your cards aren't worth as much. I don't know. It's all a guess. Just have fun. Just buy what you like. Just buy what you like and have fun. All right? If you guys have a question for an upcoming episode, please, in the comments down below, just simply type your question and I would be happy, very happy, to give you my 2 cents. And again, that's probably all that my opinion is actually worth.